Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Schlage number S251. This is a double entrance locking unit. This is an interconnected lock, is what this is. This is a double locking unit. I believe I just said that. And before we get into the hardware itself, let's go over what the S series exactly is. It is a it's a series of lock by Schlage that is a tubular lock set that is called interconnected. Interconnected is a series of locks whereby a single action will allow egress. Certain occupancies are not going to permit more than a single action to exit. Other occupancies will permit more than one, and in a very narrow time, there could be more than two actually. But many occupancies will only permit one action to exit. What that means is this. The S200 series is an interconnected lock where there's a deadbolt above and a latch or a lock below. Rotating the bottom trim will permit a simultaneous retraction of both the top latch bolt and the bottom latch or spring latch or dead latch as well. Typical applications where we use S200 series locks are going to be assisted living and apartment buildings is where we see them. Either the client says, hey, I really want one of those interconnected locks. I think they're nice. I'd like to be able to exit with a single motion and have my clients be able to operate the doors that way. Or again, it could be code mandated. You want to have double locking. You want to have a bottom trim and a top deadbolt. But you're not permitted to have more than one action to exit the door. Okay, unlock the deadbolt, retract that bottom latch. The S2 series is available in different functions. Before we get to the functions, and I'm looking at the product catalog, it is a tubular lock, and that is a reference to the design or the construction of the lock, where the mechanism of the lock is going to go through the latch bolt itself versus a cylindrical lock that connects the latch bolt to the outside hub. Tubular locks are generally considered in a classification of standard or light duty type construction applications. You would not find a tubular grade 1 lock, grade 1 being the heaviest grade. You would only find grade 2 or possibly certainly grade 3 locks when it comes to tubular construction. So the S200 series will be a grade 2 lock that is rated for a 500,000 cycles. The trims are going to be available in this lock we have here, I believe, is Jupiter. Right, Jupiter. Jupiter is a lever design. Neptune is another lever design. Saturn is the most common lever design, and the flare, which is a bit of a curved shape. All of them are compliant with ADA requirements. The first lever type that really hit the market was a Saturn type design, relatively straight with a return back to the face of the door, and that was all compliant with ADA code. Obviously still is. You can also do tactile warnings, a tactile warning on the lock itself. Tactile warning may be required by your occupancy code. I keep saying occupancy in the code. I'm referring to NFPA 101. For instance, stairwells are actually required to have tactile warning, whether it be the milled grooves in the back or possibly the code will permit an abrasive tape added to the trim itself, and it's very clear NFPA 101 is when it comes to that code requirement, so that the visually impaired can be alerted to don't open this door. Meaning you have a 20-story apartment building, there's 10 units per floor, whatever the number is, you've got an electrical closet. Okay, I know not to go in there because it'll say electrical closet or whatever it says. However, the blind will need assistance, or the visually impaired will need assistance to say, don't go in there. Put some abrasive tape back there, or you order it tactile milled from the factory. That's code compliant, and that will be very likely what your project requires as well. Different finishes. The lock that I'm going to show you here is in a 619 satin nickel, but you can do them in 605 satin polished brass, 606 satin brass, 609 antique brass, 613 oil rubbed bronze, 619 satin nickel indeed, 625 polished chrome, 626 satin chrome. These locks are reversible, with the exception of the flare design. The flare lever is not symmetrical, looked at from either way. Okay, the flare, because what you need to do to the lever on either side of the lock changes, and the construction and design of the lever is different, whether it's on the inside stem of the lock or the exterior side. Those levers have to be function and then inside, or function and outside is how they define the levers. With the Neptune, Jupiter, and Saturn, you can just take them and flip them over, as long as you're on the outside lever. Meaning you can't take an outside lever and put it on the inside of the lock. It won't fit. It's not compatible. Different functions. Here we go. So just before we get to the functions, the S series is available in the original functions, your typical passage, privacy, entrance, storeroom, classroom, dummy, obviously. We're dealing with an interconnected lock, so that's the S200 series. The S200 series is going to be available in the following functions. There's only 5. There's the passage, an S210. The 10 by Schlage is passage. That's going to give you a key in the top only with nothing below except a passage function. There's then a single dummy. So if you had a pair of doors, condo building, 12-story condo building, and you've got 12 suites on each floor, they're literally laid out with pairs of doors, entry doors. Yeah, you very likely will want a set of dummies on the inactive door. Maybe you don't. I've seen of late 2019 time we're living in that dummies are sold a lot less frequently in those applications where the inactive door is left without dummy trim. That could also be a reference to code, because code will be very specific that there can be nothing installed on that inactive door to even remotely appear to be a vehicle by which you can exit. Okay, so that could be the reason that you'll see that in these applications. You not only do you not want the look of a pair of doors, but maybe code is requiring that you not. If you're doing a single-family home where you can have more than one action to exit, yeah, you might consider dummies. The other functions are going to be a 51, and that's entrance by Schlage, 70, and that's classroom by Schlage, 80 is a storeroom, so S251, S270, S280. That means then you're going to get a key at the top for the deadbolt. Just think of it as a regular deadbolt. And then down below, you're going to have a key in that lever that is going to give you the functionality of what you want. It's double locking. You can literally, with a entrance function, go into your space, close the door, and as long as the push turn button, or the turn button, is turned, it's locked. You want to double lock it, throw the deadbolt. That's it. So you'll always have locking on the bottom. Now, where this lock comes into play is that it is an interconnected lock, and I believe it's it's not a direct replacement for the H series, but for many years, decades in fact, the H series was their interconnected lock. The interconnected lock by Schlage is now the S200 series. The project that we're doing is indeed a 20-story apartment building on the west side of Chicago. And they require interconnected functionality, a single action to exit, and that tactile warning on the stairwell doors and the mechanical room doors as well. Lots of different options available that we've talked about. Obviously the finish, the trim design, the function. You can also control the keying that's done on this material as well. You can order the cylinders in the classic keyway that we have, which is a C keyway, or any of their classic keyways. E, CE, F, EF, G, FG. I don't know if I've got them all. I'm missing a couple. But the point of the matter is you can do a multiplex system with these, which might be really swell for your application. You might have not one 20-story building that is on a campus, but you might have 5, and you have 2,000 doors in each. Well, you're going to run out of change keys. So what you could do is do a C in building A, do an E in building B, do a CE in building C, use the same bidding list, give each building their own keyway, but then use a multi-section key blank to be able to pass everything as a master would possibly need to master to run through. So you can do it in different keyways, but you can also do it in restricted keyways as well, like their Primus XP, high security. You can also do this material in their UL 437 listed material. UL 437 is going to give you security beyond the standard cylinder, meaning a UL 437 is going to be brought to a higher standard when it comes to pick resistance, attack resistance with power and hand tools. It very likely will give you a cylinder with a keyway that's under current patent protection, and certainly restricted, where you have to work with the factory directly or indirectly, depending on the type of client you are, to obtain an extension of your keying system and copies of keys. You can also do the S200 in the 3 levers, not flare, as interchangeable core, so that you can immediately extract those cylinders and install new cylinders. A very common way to do a lock like this, because the S200 series hits a lot of the requirements that you have. Interconnected, you want double locking, you need to have key control, and you need to have control over the keys, and you need to be able to extract those cores quickly for whatever reason. The catalog that's on the manufacturer's page below this video refers to not only the overview of everything we've just discussed, but the parts as well. The latches for the deadbolt and the bottom portion, whether it be a spring latch or... I think they're only dead latches in the S200 series. I don't believe they make a spring latch even for the S210. Different strikes, part numbers for cylinders, other pieces that would be required possibly for your application. The overview of the system is that they're not handed except for the flare. They'll work from 1 3/8 to 2 inch thick doors. There's going to be a discussion on the interior side of the door, and that's because the workings of the interconnected nature of the lock fits on the inside of that discussion. You're going to have a 1 inch throw deadbolt. You're going to have a 1/2 inch throw latch, dead locking latch bolt. The levers are going to be zinc based, and they're going to be plated to match the code for the finish. I would take exception to that, because calling a lever 605 means a brass-based material, not zinc-based. They should be calling it US3, in my opinion, just as an example. 6-pin is going to be typical. They're all going to be drilled 6-pin for these keys. You'll be able to run 6-pin into it. You can just run 5-pin into it as well, however you're going to do that. You can do any key work that's necessary. We can either do it here in-house, or certain projects it's just more conducive to have the factory do it. If you're ordering, let's say a project of 250 locks, it's just easier to have the factory do it, in the sense that they've got machines that automate the process. We can key those jobs, certainly. It's quite simple. But the amount of man hours it takes doesn't make sense. If you're doing a half a dozen, no big deal. I can get the locks quickly from the wholesaler, or have them in stock. We can key them and ship. But we need a larger project, and they're made to order anyway. Why add the lead time of the key work onto it as well? Just let the factory do it. And it usually works out to be less costly as well. 3-year warranty on this lock, which is nice. This is UL listed, so that you are obviously going to be able to apply this to your fire-rated door. Any hardware that goes onto a door needs to be either listed and or labeled. And again, ADA compliant fully. Now, this lock itself, let's take a tour of the products. This is the discussion that I was talking about. And again, we're doing a Jupiter 619 satin nickel. Okay, a little bit of oil on there from the factory. Not to be too alarmed with that. Okay. So, you know, the action of rotating the bottom trim will allow the top trim, of course, to move to where it has to go. We're gonna put that down because it is a bit oily. A template along with installation instructions we're going to go over in a moment. Continue with the tour. There's your latch bolt. This is an S251, so it's double locking. This is going to be 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. It just depends on where you insert the bottom spindle. Deadlocking again. When the deadlocking pin is depressed, you can't push that in. That's proper installation. Otherwise, you'd be able to. That's what makes it double locking. That feature also is what allows it to be UL listed. And you can see right there that F, that UL, or some variant of those markings from UL, of which there are several and they've evolved with time, tells the certified fire door assembly inspector or the inspector this product is permissible on a fire rated door. Okay, we have the latch bolt for the deadbolt as well. That's also 2 3/8, 2 3/4. We have a couple of keys. We've got our deadbolt up above. This project was ordered 0-bitted because we're going to be master keying these in-house. And we want to be able to reuse these key blanks to become the change keys for these. So you're going to have your trim ring if you're doing that 2 1/8 inch hole on the top. This lock will also work in an 1.5 inch hole, which is really nice. I prefer those smaller holes because it's less hardware to look on the door. I surmise that is more attractive. We've got the cylinder a bit moved around. Oh, I understand. There we go. That's more attractive than that. Okay. If you do a project and you end up not using these, I'd suggest save them. You may use them someday, and they're not inexpensive to purchase those. Your sleeve for your latch bolt, should you have drilled a 1 inch hole, that would go on there like that. This is going to be your chassis that we're going to review for your latch bolt. This is what the latch bolt's going to go through. It's a part that's mandatory for the installation to have it according to its design and its warranty. Don't install these locks missing any parts because that will be cause for the manufacturer to really scrutinize your warranty claim. That's your Jupiter 619. This is a this is set. It has to be set for the handing internally. This plate that's in here is going to get moved around because of how that's set from the factory. Okay. Single locking down below. You're going to have your inside trim, and that's going to be your turn button to be able to leave the exterior locked or leave it in a condition of being unlocked. And now, let's take a look at these instructions that are here. We should have done that first, but I was too anxious to show you the parts. Now, looking at the installation instructions, which of course are included, and to back up, the installation instructions say you're not going to use all of these parts if you're dealing with an 1 3/8 door. Okay, you will use the outer ring for thinner doors. If you have 1 3/4, you're going to pull this ring off. Okay, so it'll even look nicer where you're only dealing with this portion of the reinforced scalp plate of the reinforcement and the scalp plate below. So the installation instructions give an overview of what everything looks like, and there's really nothing there to draw our attention to just yet, even though a quick 1 minute study of the installation instructions will really reveal what has to happen to get this lock installed. And you do see that hub that's there that I had showed you earlier. That needs to be installed. The lock will certainly work without it, in my estimation. but it would not be as it's been tested to work. So now we're going to get to step 3, because step 1 and 2 basically is prep the door and install the latch bolts. Prep the door, we've got a template. I'm going to go over that after the installation instructions. I guess we should talk about prepping the door first, but once you have the door prepped, you'll install the latch bolts. You'll install them, the deadbolt with it retracted. Then you're going to insert your hub down into your lever trim area. The first thing to do is in step 3, if you're looking at that document, is to get the deadbolt installed and get it installed through the door, get it installed through the plate that's on the inside, and you're going to orient the tailpiece based on the hand of the door. And you can see how they're showing us. What I have here is a left-hand installation. So what that really means is, the reason you have to put that, depending on the hand of the door, is that when I throw the deadbolt, I'm going to throw this down here. Now it's going to be caught down below. The deadbolt's thrown. I'm just going to remove this for the sake of demonstration. Right now this cam is in the thrown position. When my lever is retracted on the inside, this big piece of plastic linkage, well, this would already be installed. Okay, so what I'm looking at is this sort of scenario. This already has to be installed in order to demonstrate that. When I rotate the lever, it drives that cam piece up, pulling the latch bolt in, and that's really how these work. That's why you have to be handed on your installation, because they don't work, because they have to be timed correctly, is just simply what I'm driving at. These have to be timed, otherwise they simply won't work correctly. Okay. And indeed, what's nice about these locks is that they only work rotating down. You can't lift the handle up. So that's the timing. Okay, that's going to be thrown in either direction. As you rotate the lever, it's going to force this plate up, making the latch bolt draw back simultaneously with the bottom dead latch. So step 3 shows us, get that deadbolt through the door, put the plate on, then you're going to run your 2 screws. And, you know, there's usually only a handful of screws. The long ones are going to be for the deadbolt that are there. The 2 shorter ones will be to hold the bottom trim on. Then the other 4 screws, well, will be for your latch bolts. Because this is a double lock, you'll have screws for your strikes, and the only other screws you're going to have are going to be to hold your escutcheon plate on into the 2 areas here and here, where those holes are tapped. And indeed, when we slap all that together, you know, it's going to go right underneath there, and you're going to secure the plate immediately to the inner linkage plate. So step 3 shows how to install that, but just time it correctly. Kick the tailpiece towards the left or kick the tailpiece towards the right, depending on how you're installing it. Then install the bottom exterior trim. You will possibly have to retime this. This piece that's down in here, you just have to motivate it to come out, and it will then lift out, and you simply position it. Right now I can go up and down with the activation, but you want to get it timed and get that piece put back in place. It does require a small amount of force to move it in, and now I've got a lock that will only act as a right hand or a right hand reverse. I need to pull that out and reverse it in order for it to work in the opposite orientation. Okay, and that's how you time that. That's step 4 basically, and it shows how to time that cam down below. Yeah, so you basically either have the feature, the R's with the arrows, or you take it and you turn it 90 degrees, and then you'll have the L with the arrows, and the orientation is what's going to dictate how that works. Step 5 shows the driver impulsor. Driver impulsor. I guess all they're doing is bringing attention to it. The driver impulsor is this relatively square preparation that's going to mate to this square prep on the inside so that those two go together so that you can command what's happening on the inside. I've got that via the outside so that you can affect the function of the lock based on how I turn that tailpiece. Now I'm rigid on the outside. Okay, now I can retract from the inside, where the rotation of that spindle that's inside of here is what's going to make the latch bolt, when that spindle goes through here, retract. Okay. Just to demonstrate that quickly. Got it set at 2 3/8 right now, by the way. This would be 2 3/4. Locks into the chassis, as you can see here underneath my finger. Either way, you just slide it over. Okay. Then, when I'm all connected on the inside, I've got the interior timed incorrectly. Yeah, no, we've got it right. Okay, so we're good. Let's put that back together really quick. Okay, so with that spindle running all the way through, as I turn the turn button, it will then make rigid the outside lever and trim. Is how that works. Now I'm locked. I'm horizontal. When I turn it vertical, I'm now unlocked. You can obviously always egress. And it is this cam that will affect that plate on the inside, which will then drive the deadbolt to be retracted, that linkage that's up here. That's step 5. Step 6, you know, you've got the deadbolt attached to the door. Step 5, you took the shorter screws here and went through the inside holes, the 2 holes that you can hopefully see there and there, right to these tapped posts in the zinc chassis. That will lock all that down into place. Don't over tighten it. Over tightening the lock is going to cause it to not function very smoothly. Step 6, make sure that when you install the interior escutcheon, that the orientation of the trim is going to show an unlocked condition and then a locked condition. You know, you want visual representation. You can install it really either way that you want. Actually, the instructions seem to show the long end towards the top. It really doesn't matter, but I would do it the same either way. I would do it the way the installation instructions show. In fact, to be technical about it, a piece of hardware needs to be installed as shown in the installation instructions for it to be properly rated as fire rated. A very interesting thing came up not in the too distant past. A hospital was cited for not having the plastic covers installed on their fire rated doors. And my initial reaction was, well, that doesn't make any sense, because the first thing that's going to melt on that fire test is that plastic cover. It'll be gone within moments, within a few minutes. But the way it's called out when it's listed or labeled hardware is when it's not specifically stated that something needs to be installed, Like a door closer has to have its door closer arm installed, otherwise the door won't be self-closing. You default to the installation instructions, and the code official or the certified fire door inspector or anyone who's inspecting the door will have to defer to the installation instructions. So doing it the way it's called out is more than just doing it the way it was engineered. It is also because doing it the way that it was tested, and that's the criteria by which the accuracy of the installation will be measured by. What did the manufacturer's installation instructions say you need to do? Step 7 is to install your dust guards, which also will act, your top dust guard, your dust box for the strike, will also act as a reinforcer as well on that. Now, the templates, this is easy stuff, okay? I've mortised thousands and tens of thousands of doors. The bottom line is you're going to drill a 2 1/8 inch hole. Where you're going to drill on the door, you need to obviously be ADA compliant. I'm going to think you're going to want to be somewhere about 40 5/16 from the floor to the center line. There is a range to be ADA compliant. But a good commercial height is going to be about 40 5/16 from the bottom of the frame. I'm not making that number up, it's an actual number. You can be lower, maybe as much as 6 inches lower, or thereabouts. You can be higher, maybe as much as 10 inches higher. Okay, so you can play with that range. If you're doing steel frames, and it's likely you are, that strike height's going to be not only already determined for you based on your manufacturer, but it's going to be compliant with ADA code. So you're going to drill your door at either 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. 2 3/4 is going to be the standard. Doesn't have to be that. You might be dealing with a slightly more petite style width. Okay. To get the hardware installed where 2 3/8 is a better choice for you. The width of this plate is 3 1/8. Okay, the center is going to be your back set, 2 3/8 or 2 3/4. So, you know, let's put this at 2 3/8. You can see that you're going to be pushing 4 inch. So if you've got a narrow style, like something that's about 4 inch, you're certainly not going to be at 2 3/4, because if you were, this plate would be hanging over your trim. So be mindful of that. The nice thing about, again, the deadbolt, you can do a 2 1/8 or 1.5 inches. I like that smaller hole. That's just personal preference. You're going to drill 1 inch holes in the edge of the door, although you can cheat it and do a slightly smaller hole for the latch bolt should you need to for some reason. I like drilling a smaller hole when at all possible, because the width of this faceplate is 1 inch. Okay, it is 1 inch. I would really like to have the diameter of my bore for the latch assembly not be the same size as the faceplate. I'd like it to be slightly less, so that when I drill through it, I don't have any chance of seeing any evidence of my wobbly bit going in. Now, the problem with the deadbolt, I'm pretty sure that's going to require a 1 inch because of how thick that body is. You're going to need a 1 inch up for the deadbolt, to be sure. Your vertical height, your back set, the diameter of both holes. The other thing you have to know is the center to center, 4 inch. That's no option there. You don't get to choose. That's the number that you have to live by. You've got to do that. It's got to be 4 inch, because that's the center to center of your two locking plates. These are full-size templates. You can literally apply them to the door. Interestingly, they show a 5 inch option, a 5 inch back set. I didn't notice that in the catalog, that they can do a 5 inch back set. Oh, they do. Yeah, you can do a 5 inch back set on these. I'm looking at the part number. They've got part numbers for those two latch bolts. You can obviously order it as 5 inch back set. I don't think I've ever seen an interconnected lock with a 5 inch back set, but I've certainly seen 5 inch back sets and larger. You can, once you get the template applied to the edge of the door, you can put this on the door. You can then take your center punch and make your holes. The nice thing about I faced it to this side. It would actually be this side, where it would then look like this, where you can then mark all 4 of your holes at the same time. You might also just make your own template. If you're doing 200 of these, I wouldn't use paper templates. I would manufacture a template that automatically gauges off the stop. Don't know that I would do that, actually. I might make it so that it gauges off the top of the door, so I eliminate one possibility. However you're going to go about doing it, you're probably going to have the factory that you ordered the doors from prep those. But if you're doing it in the field, it's just a lock and a deadbolt prep is really all it is. Okay, typical power tools are all you're going to need. Okay, below this video is a link to the installation instructions. There is a link to the template. There is a link to the full product catalog. And we've pretty much covered it. It's a decent series lock. I wasn't, and I still am not a super huge fan of the Schlage lever tubular locks. They're not really, in my opinion, intended for incredibly high volumes of use. I would like to see a cylindrical design at a very minimum, because it's, in my opinion, you're just not dealing with the robust nature of the internal construction by which you can actually depend on a lock that's going to survive substantial use. This is a grade 2 tubular lock. Understand what it is, even though they're still really expensive. So be mindful of that. Finally, there's a link, as I put this all away, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Schlage products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. The full product catalog is handy because you can review all things Schlage related, of which I'm a fan of. I like Schlage. Maybe it's because I'm most partial to them as a result of being most familiar with them. But they do have incredibly high quality products. And what is most beneficial for me, and I think for the end user, is the responsiveness of technical support. I get an answer to my technical support questions every single time without fail. I don't work for the factory. I've never worked for a manufacturer of lock sets. And a lot of what needs to happen on locks is not necessarily readily obvious through published catalogs. There are times you need to call the factory and say, what am I doing wrong? And they're there all the time. They're great technical support. Their customer service is good. Their parts are usually in stock all the time. So be mindful of that when making a decision. The ability to get support, the ability to get replacement parts quickly and easily. My name is Rich. I'm the owner of Architectural Builder Supply. If you have any questions on the Schlage S251P or PD, P60, conventional core 6-pin Jupiter in the 619, C keyway, or any other Schlage product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.